I want to welcome you back to this channel, and I believe that you're doing very well. Today, we want to look at controlling as one of the functions of management. I would want to share my screen with you as I go through the lesson. Okay. So at the end of this lesson, I expect that you'll be able to define and explain controlling correctly. You'll also be able to know the importance of controlling and again, discuss the control process. All right. So controlling, as we know, is one of the major functions of management. And at every point in time, as management plans, as management organizes and leads, one other thing that it does is to control. And therefore, we would want to define controlling as a systematic exercise or process of checking actual performance against the standards or plans with a view to ensure adequate progress. So everybody starts something in an organization with an aim of achieving something. And therefore, that thing that you want to achieve, the end result or the end focus becomes your standard. And as you go about whatever you're doing, there's a need for you to be able to know whether you're on track or not. And it's controlling that helps us to be able to achieve this goal or this function. So management at every point in time has to ensure that the controlling process is ongoing. All right. Some of the features of controlling that we would want to talk about is the fact that controlling is a dynamic process. When we say it's dynamic, we mean to say that it changes from time to time. Okay, controlling is not static. At every point in time, as things change, controlling as a process also changes, and therefore we can say that it's dynamic. Again, it's an end function. When you are embarking on something, as you perform, that is when you're able to use the control process. So you always say that it's an end. So at if it's every 5 minutes that you want to control, then you are saying that you finish the 5 minutes before you control. So it's an end process. Then throughout the process, I mean, there are various types of controlling that we can use, but at every point, whichever one you are using, controlling comes after an action. Okay, then controlling and planning also go hand in hand. I mean, you can't plan without controlling, you can't control without planning. So they are always used simultaneously. Again, controlling is a pervasive action and function. It means that it happens everywhere in the organization throughout. It goes on and on in the organization. Okay, at every angle, we want to use controlling. Again, controlling is looking forward, whilst we've said earlier that planning is looking forward. Controlling is also actually looking forward. You don't want to make mistakes. You want to actually know the end from the beginning. So that's why we are controlling. You set standards. So you look ahead of the project and set standards. So controlling is always looking forward. Good. In that regard, we want to look at the types of controlling that we can have as an organization or we can use as individuals. So you have the feed forward control, you have the concurrent control, and lastly, the feedback control. So these are the three major types of controlling that you can do. So feedback and feed forward, you see, you notice that they are opposite to each other and the concurrent happens to be in the middle. Feed forward control is when you try to look into whatever inputs you are using in a process. So it has to do with the things that you're doing now. Okay, as you are doing an activity, as you're performing an activity, you try to look at the future occurrences that may happen. So you anticipate problems, and at every point in time, you try to tackle them. So it has to do with somebody who is able to look ahead. Okay, so feed forward control most of the time will demand that you look ahead to anticipate issues that are yet to come. And then the processes have to do with the concurrent control, the processes involved in what you are doing. So as you are doing it, you correct the problems that come from time to time. So that one is the concurrent. You are performing and you are at the same time correcting, okay, or establishing the various controls and then finding ways and means to get things done properly. Now, the last one, which is the feedback control, happens to do with when you are done with everything, every activity, and then you try to correct problems, okay? So that's the feedback control. Everything is done. The process has ended, and then you control. So that's its feedback control. All right. So on that note, we'll look at some of the importance of controlling. I mean, there are quite a number, there are a lot, but the few that I want to discuss with you is that controlling motivates employees. Actually, when people know that there are standards they are working with, they know that when they make mistakes, they can correct, they can do the right thing from time to time based on the standards, they are motivated. They know that there's a backing. The organization has them at heart, because if the organization doesn't have standards for you, you don't even know what you are working with in the first place. So controlling actually motivates. Again, it promotes the efficient use of resources, because you are always trying to meet the standard. You try to use resources that are quality. You try to not waste time, not waste human resource. So controlling always promotes efficiency. Again, controlling creates discipline in the organization. Everybody in the organization knows what we are working at. They know what we are aiming to achieve. So they are always working in a decent, disciplined way. Again, controlling ensures coordination of action, because we are working together as a team in the organization. Don't forget, the organization has various departments, and therefore, at every point in time, if we are working together, then we are able to know that, okay, these are the standards we are working with. So let's do it this way, let's do it that way. So controlling actually brings that unity in terms of our actions. There's a lot of coordination. Okay, it also helps us to be able to decide on the right judgment. Okay, how do we come up with our standards? It happens when there's control. Okay, because without the control process, you can't even set your standards in the first place. Again, controlling aids the accomplishments of goals. So at every point in time, if you want to be able to accomplish your goals as an organization, it's controlling that will help you to do that. Because once you set standards, I mean, everybody is propelled in the organization to go according to the standards. And that's one of the greatest advantages that you can have with controlling. Beautiful. So we want to look at the process of control. I mean, at every point in time, for you to be able to control in the organization, there's a need, first of all, to be able to establish standards. So the standards that we establish, quality standards, standards that have to do with behavior, standards that have to do with outputs, everything that the organization expects to do, there's a need for us to set standards for them. If the standards are below the belt, what will happen is that people will work below the belt. But if the standards are so high and attainable, achievable, then there's always this kind of zeal to work towards the standards. So the first process, or the first step in the process, is establishing of standards. The next is ensuring, or at every point in time, knowing the performance at hand as it stands. So that's what we call measuring actual performance. Okay, you want to find out what your performance is, ensuring that everybody knows what they are doing, how are they doing it. All these things come under measuring actual performance. All right, then we can talk about comparison of actual performance and standards. You've already set your standards prior to beginning, so you want to compare the two to find out, okay, these are the standards, this is what we are doing now. How do they, I mean, what's the correlation? Are we able to sync both of them? All right, that is the point. That's that step, the third step. And then finally, you try to take corrective measures if there's a need. So once I've measured the standards to the actual performance, I'm able to decide whether there's a need for any correction. If you detect a correction, then there's a need for you to embark on it at once. Okay, so that is the last step in the controlling process. Right. These are the references for the class. Thank you so much. Kindly let me have your questions at any point in time and I'll respond to them in due time. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.